So today I'm going to bring you guys on a journey with me to make the enchanted rose in the bell jar from Beauty and the Beast. Let's get started. Alright, so the supplies you're going to need for this tutorial include one bell jar. I found this one in the Halloween section of Target. I'll list the link below if I can find it online for you. I liked the look of it, the beat on the bottom of it, and the bat on top. I figured that was in tune with Beast. You're going to need a strand of battery-operated purple lights that are on a wire. I also got these at Target. And the main piece, a silk rose, which I purchased at Michael's. You're going to need a screwdriver, a pair of wire cutters, a pair of scissors, some fishing line, a detail brush, a foam brush, and some acrylic paints. Not pictured here, you'll also need super glue and batteries for your lights. To start, you're going to want to remove the bat from the top of this bell jar. It has a Phillips head screw attached to the top of it, so remove that and then set the bell jar aside. Now it's time to paint the base and the top of the bell jar. Grab the metallic acrylic paint of your choice. I'm using gold again here. Grab your foam brush and pick up the paint lightly. Dab off the excess. Don't go too heavy with it if you want the same kind of brushed brass look that I'm going for here. I'm using dabbing motions onto the bottom of the base of the bell jar. I'm also going to be removing a lot of the paint and kind of pressing it around with a cloth or a tissue or a paper towel to kind of disperse the paint onto the bottom and the top of the bell jar pieces. Again, I really wanted that kind of brushed metallic brass aged look. Set aside the jar to dry. Now take the wire cutters and cut the rose down to a smaller size. You'll have to measure the correct length the rose needs to be to fit inside the jar, with an inch or more between it and the top and the bottom of the jar so that you can achieve the floating illusion. Take the petals of the rose and start to gently pry them apart to fluff out the rose. This will make it easier to start placing the wire LED light strand inside the petals. Take the strand and start to wrap the lights around the rose. The reason I suggested wire strand LEDs is because you can bend and twist the strand easier than regular light strands. You can also bend the small LEDs to stick above the petals, making them more noticeable. Make sure to stagger the lights not only around the rose form, but also down the stem of the rose. Too many lights on one side won't look as nice as lights wrapping around the entire rose. Once you've got the lights wrapped around the rose in the placement that you like, start to bring the strand down the stem. Make sure to wrap it tightly around the stem, but still be careful not to break or damage the wire. You want it to cling to the stem as close as possible to be less visible. You can now turn on the lights and see how it looks. The time to make adjustments is now before we start to paint the wire to blend it into the rose. I'm mixing brown and green acrylic paints here to match the rose's stem. Also, bad painting habits. Don't mix your paints in their caps. I'm a rebel though. Using your fine detail brush, paint the wire all the way down to the bottom of the stem, making sure to avoid the LEDs. Luckily, acrylic wipes off easily if you accidentally hit one of your lights. You could also paint the wire inside the rose red to match, but it's not nearly as visible as the wire around the stem, so I didn't bother with it. Take a 2-inch long piece of fishing line and thread it into the very middle portion of the rose. Take your super glue and squeeze a bead of glue where the thread of the line meets the middle bud of the rose. Now gently take the fishing line and feed it through the top screw hole. This might take some finagling as to not cut the line with the rough edges of the screw. If you have to, you can tie the line to the actual screw and then put it back into place. This bell jar has a small plastic washer around the screw that helped to stop the thread from cutting. Make length adjustments to make sure the rose won't be touching the bottom platform. help mask the remaining wire and battery pack, you can paint it black and gold to match the base of the jar. We'll be helping to mask this wire even more in a moment. This is completely optional and ended up being a randomly brainstormed step for me, but I had actual dried roses from old Valentine's Day flowers. Yeah, I'm a sap. Get back to making this prop. Anyway, this ended up being a great way to hide the wire, and an unintentional good idea, since the enchanted rose has petals that consistently fall off, as the beast's days are numbered. The real, dead, dried up petals can add a bittersweet touch akin to the beast himself. If you are doing this step, make sure to place the flowers randomly, but still have a plan to hide the wire with 1 or 2 pieces of dried leaves. I ended up supergluing 2 leaves to the actual wire. If you do some crafty placement, you won't even know the wire is there. Since the wire extended out of the jar and down the base is painted to match, you can also glue it to the base as well, but that's up to you. The battery pack with these lights ended up fitting perfectly under the base of the jar, completely hidden from view. All you have left to do is place the bell of the jar back into place and clean any smudges with some glass cleaner. And now you have your own light up enchanted rose prop. Hope you enjoy it.